into currencies in this region too. We've seen the rupee at a record low against the dollar today. Also, China's market extending its losses. We had the NPC over the weekend. Let's flip the board. They've got this aggressive 5.5% growth target for 2022, which most analysts say is going to require a lot of targeted policy support. We have seen equities, though, really being hit by the global risk-off shock that we are seeing, despite this hope for more policy support from the PBOC. And how complicated is that going to be by the COVID-0 policy madness? You had the most amount of COVID cases in China in terms of daily numbers since the Wuhan crisis. And then, of course, you've got the impact of the war in Ukraine and what that's going to mean for China's economy too. Manas.
Jules, thank you. Great roundup, Julia. Sorry that in Singapore. Let's get back to the situation on the ground. President Putin has said again that the war will continue until Ukraine accepts his demands. For the very latest, let's get to Maria. She's on the ground, Maria, today in Europe for us. So, Maria, we go into a third round of talks since the official invasion. A flurry of geopolitics over the weekend.
Hold on, gang. Let's go into what Putin said real fast. Vladimir Putin said about this. We'll go back to that real fast. We'll go right back to that. I just wanted to let's go over this real fast.
Save yourself.
Bill, so let's start off with this potential oil embargo. How likely is it that we'll see it go ahead?
Well, there's a lot of pressure growing domestically on the Biden administration from Republicans and Democrats to cut the Russian oil imports, and I think the U.S. wants to do that in a unified way with European allies. At the same time, they're really pressing every other producer they can to find if there's any additional output that they can put onto the market. We've seen Libya cutting back recently because of some issues there, but you have the potential for some sort of deal in Iran that would bring more supply on. But in the meantime, we're seeing this big spike in prices as it looks like there is momentum toward a ban, but not clear if there's any way to make up for that oil in the market.
And Bill, Vladimir Putin trying to avoid default by its companies, allowing these Russian companies to pay foreign creditors in rubles. What do we know?
Well, that's something that's just come out over the weekend, that the Russian president said that debt due in foreign currencies can be paid in rubles. It's not clear whether that's anything that investors would like at this point. So, and whether those payments can still be processed is still a little bit unclear. So, Russia's trying to find a workaround to some of these sanctions and the penalties they're facing, but it's not clear this is the kind of thing that's going to help them out very much.
Does President Putin say no-fly zone will be mean that NATO entering the war?
Нужно сделать бесполетную зону на территории Украины. Сделать это невозможно на самой территории Украины. Можно только с территории каких-то соседних государств. Но любое движение в этом направлении будет нами рассматриваться как участие в вооруженном конфликте той страны, с территории которой будут создаваться угрозы для наших военнослужащих. Мы в эту же секунду будем рассматривать их как участниками военного конфликта. И уже все равно, какими там членами они являются.
We have seen equities, though, really being hit by the global risk-off shock that we are seeing, despite this hope for more policy support from the PBOC. And how complicated is that going to be by the COVID-0 policy madness? You had the most amount of COVID cases in China in terms of daily numbers since the Wuhan crisis. And then, of course, you've got the impact of the war in Ukraine and what that's going to mean for China's economy too. Manas.
Jules, thank you. Great roundup, Julia. Sorry that in Singapore. Let's get back to the situation on the ground. President Putin has said again that the war will continue until Ukraine accepts his demands. For the very latest, let's get to Maria. She's on the ground, Maria, today in Europe for us. So, Maria, we go into a third round of talks since the official invasion. A flurry of geopolitics over the weekend. Will any of it bear any fruit today?
Well, Manas, we're going into round 3, but if you look at every round we've had so far, where they've accomplished very little. On round 2, they agreed to a ceasefire in the humanitarian corridor, but we've seen over the weekend that ceasefire was broken many times. And then, of course, you have President Vladimir Putin repeating, we have a special operation, and remember, Russia, the word war is not allowed on public media. Now you face up to 15 years in prison if you spread, quote, fake news about the Russian military. But Vladimir Putin insists the special operation will continue in Ukraine. He says it is going according to plan, and Russia has military and political objectives it wants to fulfill. Now, the problem, of course, when you enter round 3 of negotiating talks here is that Russia wants a different government in Ukraine. They want to demilitarize the country, take away the weapons, and put an end to the bid to EU membership and NATO. Of course, when you speak to the Ukrainian officials in the Zelensky government, they'll tell you they are not going to agree to this. This is total capitulation, and they won't do it. So it is very difficult to see a diplomatic way forward if Russia doesn't change in some of the demands that it's been making until now.
Maria, thank you very much. That's our European correspondent, Maria Tadeo. Really fantastic reporting today and all of last week, and really on all of this on Ukraine, Russia. Now, more than 1.5 million people have crossed from Ukraine's neighboring countries over the past 10 days. That's according to the UN High Commissioner for European Refugees. Filippo Grandi says it's the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. Now, let's get the latest with Pietro Solominski, Bloomberg's Warsaw Bureau Chief. So bring us up to date with the latest refugee situation at the Poland-Ukrainian border, because of course there was this this humanitarian corridor that was supposed to be set up from Ukraine, but of course concerns there that some of that ceasefire was being violated.
Hi, indeed. So when it comes to Poland, we actually hit a new milestone just overnight. 1 million people have crossed from Ukraine since the crisis started a week or more ago, 10 days actually. So we're seeing more and more people coming in, and obviously we're also seeing huge effort from the population to step up and help them. We are seeing people organizing, self-organizing actually, coming together, offering accommodation to Ukrainians. What you have to remember is that Poland is already has a huge Ukrainian diaspora. There are 1 million people officially here, and obviously it's a and it's also the longest land border that the EU has with the Ukraine. So it's only natural that these people are coming here, and they're being picked up by their loved ones from Ukraine who are settled, who are living here. But also there's huge outpour of support from the population. I'm hearing from a lot of people who already accepted Ukrainians who have Ukrainians staying with them. They're getting in touch. We have WhatsApp groups, and people are asking, can you provide these sort of clothes for the people that I'm hosting? So it's incredible to see that. Obviously, the question is how long and how much capacity Poland has, because obviously at this point we are seeing gyms, auditoriums also turn to shelters for Ukrainians. You also have schools offering after school classes for Ukrainians, also accepting Ukrainian kids to the classes. Now, the question is what's next? The government so far has also set up reception centers. So there are 23, if I remember, that's the latest count, where people can show up, they sign up. But also, there is a new law that's currently being discussed by the government, where part of it will be offering the equivalent of $300 to every family that hosts someone from Ukraine. So as I said, it's a huge effort. The question is how much capacity that the country still has to deal with that.
Piotr, truly one of the most heartbreaking sights, the biggest refugee crisis since World War II. Piotr, thank you very much. Piotr Skolomowski, Bloomberg's Warsaw Bureau Chief, with Danny and I this morning. Coming up, Pooja Kumra, Senior European Rate Strategist at TD Dominion Bank, joins us to discuss the sanctions, the European Central Bank meeting this week, and the implication for rates. That conversation next. Plus, Danny?
With oil surging higher, Manus, we're going to be talking about the outlook for crude and the implications for the global economy. That conversation with Tomas Varga, analyst at PVM Oil Associates. This is Bloomberg.
All right, gang. So, oil is going up. I just wanted to go over that. They passed these new laws where, if you spread false news about Russia and war, you can get up to 50 years in prison. We just so gang, I'm just giving you what's going on as far as the market, as far as gold. We go over gold. It's affecting the market as far as gold is concerned. I hope this helps. All right, gang.